I am going to go ahead and get started. This presentation is going to be about agent diagnostics. And some of you might not even know what that is or what I'm talking about when we say that. So this is something fairly new to the agency in the sense that we can kind of look at all your data that you're putting into Tech Canary, and we can make some assumptions from that and help you to plan. So I'm going to go through this presentation here and try to explain that to you. And please feel free, either during or even after, reach out to me and we can, go over this one-on-one. I can certainly answer questions today if I have the answers, and we'll go from there. So agent diagnostics, the things that we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about what they are, why they're important, how they are used, and where you guys can find them. Because anything that we're recording and pulling and looking at, I'm certainly going to make sure that you have access to it as well, because it's only fair if you know where you are as well. And then we're also going to talk about how you can use your agent diagnostics to finish this current year successfully, how you can also use them to plan for next year. And then last but certainly not least, we're going to talk about how you can use them to better manage your renewals and prospecting. And we'll talk about some of the tools that we have that can help you kind of get organized and create some efficiencies in your day. When we go over those tools, I'm not going to go into great detail because, as you can probably guess, we're going to do another session in a week or so to talk about those tools and how you can use them more in depth. So what are agent diagnostics? They are the measurement of the activities that each and every one of you are putting into Tech Canary. But what we do with them is that we actually compare them towards targeted goals so that we can track your progress and growth. So for example, we're measuring things like your top 250 lists. Well, your top 250 lists, obviously, that speaks for itself. Your target is 250. So, if you're only at 50% of 250, well, then you're only at 50% of your goal there. And just to let you know, on the top 250, it is top 250.
I need to move the microphone a little closer to you.
Or you're not here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's the volume button? There it is. Can you all hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So right now we are at top 250, and that's the number that we're using. I'm just going to give you, I'm just going to let you know that starting January 1, we're going to move that target up to 300. Tom Barrett, when he talks to us, actually already thinks that 250 is too low. And so we're going to kind of step that number up. Obviously, you can get to have too many where you can't manage it, but we're going to go from 250 to 300. So then we get into prospecting activities, and on prospecting activities, what we're looking at is we think that, when you're prospecting, you should have a combined total of about 50 touches per week. That's 200 per month. And with that, that includes things like your calls, your meetings, drop bags, emails, and referrals that you might be receiving from those activities. And these are activities that are already in Tech Canary. So when you log something, log a call, or even put in a task, you have an option to put a activity type with it. And all of these prospecting activities that are counted will actually have the word prospecting in front of the activity type. So it'll say prospecting call, prospecting meeting, etc. And then we look at your servicing activities. Now, for service, as of right now, we are working towards some servicing diagnostics as well to kind of help you. But right now, we don't really have a specific target. But what those include are also your calls, meetings, Epic, activities, things like that. And again, same as prospecting, if you want to save something as a servicing activity, they're all the activities that have the word servicing in front of them that we're counting. Then we look at the activities that are measured. These are items that are actually automatically calculated for you. Everything above this, when we talk about activities like servicing and prospecting, these are things that you have to intentionally put in, whether it's from your email or you're, using your Zenbit, things like that. These are things that you're putting in. When you get to the pipeline and the account goes to the pipeline, if you put it in your first stage, first appointment set, it's going to log you a DAQ. If you move it then to your needs assessment completed, it's going to automatically log you a needs assessment. And same with proposals submitted. So these types of things really are just you moving it through your pipeline. We're kind of taking the hassle of having to add those activities for you. So with DAQs, we're looking at a target of 4 per week, needs assessment 2 per week, and then 1 proposal submitted per week. And then for your accounts on your pipeline, the minimum target is, we like to see 15. Between 15 and 18 or 20 is about where we want to see your pipeline looking fulfilled. And then, of course, the agent diagnostics will compare your total sales dollar and your number of accounts sold. And then from there, what we do is we actually will provide you kind of what your average account size is. Are you averaging about 5,000 per account, 6,000, whatever? So we'll calculate that for you. So why are the diagnostics important and how are they used? The first reason is they help you. They can help you evaluate how you are doing and kind of comparison of where you should be. Are you meeting your goals? Are you meeting your sales projections for the year? If not, do you have enough in your top 250 list to even meet your goals? Are you making enough cold calls to kind of get the flow going? So these kind of help you to say, where do you need to focus your energy and how do you need to adjust to help you either finish the year strong or start for next year? Do you need more cold calls, more 250, DAQs, etc.? But they also help the agency identify your strengths and weaknesses. So, a lot of you, some of you are newer on this call, but a lot of you have not ever gone through kind of our new agent training. And if you were to go through it today versus maybe when you first came on, there are so many more resources and sales tools available to these agents and how we kind of work with them from the beginning. So we now have those already pre-prepared. Like if you wanted help on your big fat claim or even just cold calling ideas and strategies and examples and things like that, we have those tools available. So if we look at this and we kind of see that you're not hitting your prospecting numbers or you're not hitting your 250, we can kind of dig into our catalog of resources and we can start to bring those out and help you so that you can actually be better. So I look at this as kind of most of you are good, but we're just trying to get you to be great. So that's the whole point of this. And then it also helps with future planning. So, we had the last time we met, we talked about the top 250 and how you're going to maximize those opportunities. And, how are you going to be moving them all along? You might have one on the 250 today, but after you cold call it, you say it's not really a 250. I want to move it off and put something else on. They should be constantly kind of flowing in and out. But by collecting this data, you can also calculate your own conversion rates to kind of understand where you need to be to achieve your goals. So, if you know that your number of calls to your number of proposals is a certain amount, well, then you can just back the number up and say, well, I know I want X number of sales this year. So I know I need to get X number of proposals. So I'm going to have to make this number of cold calls because that's my own personal conversion rate. And everybody is going to be a little bit different because some people excel on the DAQ process and some are better maybe on the cold call and so on. So it really helps you customize a plan for you. And then you might be asking, well, where do I don't even know what this is. I haven't seen it. Where do I find it? So what I've built in Tech Canary, and I'm going to go to this here in a few minutes, is I have actually built everybody an agent diagnostics dashboard. So this is something that each and every one of you have the ability to go in, take a look at, and you can even see where you're comparing to other agents. So you can kind of look and see like how many is on your top 250, how many cold calls you're making, and so on. The time frame on the dashboard is going to be your last 30 days of activity. It's the best kind of measurement I can get that can be for everybody and pretty consistent. So every time you look at that, it's going to be your last 30 days. And it is going to update daily. So it is dynamic data. So as soon as you make a cold call, you go back and refresh your dashboard. It's going to show up on your dashboard. The items on that dashboard are then going to be entered into the agent diagnostic tracker that I'm going to show you. And I'm going to look at those weekly, and I am going to share those with you weekly so that you can compare yourself where you are to your goals. Actually escape here for a second, and I am going to show you some of this. So the first thing I'm going to show you is in Tech Canary. When you go in, I actually have, why am I not? Okay, so I'm going to go, I actually right now, because I wanted you to understand what it looks like from your perspective, I'm logged in as if I was Kyle. And just to kind of give you an idea, I did talk to Kyle ahead of this. Kyle is somebody that actually already started on the agent diagnostics. And part of this, and I completely understand this, is part of this is you might be doing the activity, but you're maybe not putting it into Tech Canary. And I think Kyle and I've discussed that a couple times. But it was amazing to see like where he started on his agent diagnostics and then working with him to get a bigger 250 list. And he's way over 250 now. Working with him to kind of manage getting more cold calls in, more prospecting attempts. We actually started to see his pipeline also grow as well. So every single step of that had a really positive impact. I recognize some of you might not be putting these activities into Tech Canary right now. You might be saying, well, I'm doing it, I'm just not logging it. But the truth of the matter is you're not really helping yourself, not helping the agency. And we're going to kind of look at it as, well, if it's not in there, it didn't happen. So I really recommend you kind of doing that. And if you need help with that stuff, we're here to help you. But anyway, I am logged in as Kyle. And what you would do is you'd go over to your dashboards. You would click on all dashboards if you don't have it come up right away. And you click on this agent diagnostics, all agents. This is the information that I'm going to use to put on your agent diagnostics. So you can see here, it's going to show you what you have on your top 250 list, the numbers. This is going to show you all of the prospecting attempts that you've made. It's going to show you your service activities because realistically, maybe 1 week, you don't have as much in prospecting because you had 25 service calls and you got a really hectic week with service. Well, then you just know that maybe the following week, you might need to double your prospecting because you kind of want to stay on track. It's going to show you your DAQs, needs assessments, and so on. Down here as well, it shows you your pipeline. It shows you kind of how many things you have on your pipeline, first of all. And over here by the colors, you can see what stage those would be in. And look at things that are by age. This one's a little harder to track, so you'll be able to see it better on your agent diagnostics. But I can tell here that certain things, like I'm looking at Dan here, and he's got one account that's only been on his pipeline for 4 days. Well, when you scroll across, you might see one that's been on there for 806 days. I guess I would kind of question, do you need to make something like that inactive? Or are you still actively working it? So we're going to look at those things as well. And it's going to show you your dollar amounts and your production report year to date. So with that, this is what the report will look like when you get it. It's going to show you up here what your time frame is. This was for a month. It's going to show you your targeted goals. These are the goals that we have set, kind of saying we feel like when you do these things, and we've tried with agents, and the ones that are doing these things are the most successful. When you hit these numbers,
Can you mute Camille?
sure. Yes. So when you're looking at this, now you can kind of see, okay, my target's 250, and this just so happens to be Kyle's. He's got 378 things in his pipeline, so he's at his goal. But then you look at your prospecting attempts, and again, that's a combination of things. And if the target goal is 200 for a period of month, because remember we said it's about 50 a week we want you to hit, then you look and see where am I to my goal. and so on. So with the service calls and appointments, again, when you look at something like 74, you might want to say, well, I've had a hectic service month, so maybe this month dipped a little bit, but I want to make sure that I'm balancing that. And I'm going to show you another tool that we have to do that as well. And then you go through and you compare each one of those stages that we talked about to your specific goal, and well, which is everybody's goal. And you can see kind of where you come for the percentage rates. And then this is where I was showing you on the pipeline for the aging report, we kind of have a green, yellow, red stage. Now, there may be something out there that you really do feel confidence coming back in, but I would say if you don't think it's going to happen in probably 9 months to a year, you could make it inactive, set yourself a follow-up to reach out to them in 9 months.
You should.
Yeah, make it inactive, follow up on it in 9 months, and then it's not clogging your pipeline, because we really want your pipeline to be the true representation of what your opportunities are that you think are going to land.
Jennifer, did you tell them that we're going to 300
I did.
instead of 250?
I did.
January 1.
Yeah. So how can you be the master of your diagnostics? I'm going to actually put this so it's easier to see. I'll start from here. Well, first of all, you should enter your activities as you complete them. You know, I understand sometimes it's not that easy. Maybe you don't have, maybe you can't see your, I personally need glasses now for my phone, so maybe you can't do that. But if you have an iPad, a computer, a phone, you can enter all of those things on those tools. So I would enter as you go, because having to go back and say like 2 weeks later, oh, well, what call did I make? What did I do here? What did I do that? It's going to be more time consuming for you, and you're likely going to forget what you've done. So I would suggest log as you go. Also use your add-on tools to save time. So we have so many tools available to you, and I just recommend that you use them. So those of you that I've talked to about Zenbit, I think would be very happy to say that it makes you more efficient, because in Zenbit, that's the little add-on that you have in your Outlook. You can log all of these activities right from your Outlook. So you don't even have to go into your Tech Canary. You get an email and you did something, and maybe it's service. You go over to the right, you look it up, you log it as servicing, and you're done with it. Or you log it as prospecting, you're done with it. So it kind of just saves you time. And then you're also getting a record of what you did with that customer out there on Tech Canary, so that if you ever had any question about conversations or emails that you've had, you actually have it to go back on. I would also recommend GeoPoint. GeoPoint allows you to build routes to prospect when servicing, or you can prospect when you're getting pictures. You can route your top 250 list if you want. So if you're going all the way out to point A, you might as well route out other opportunities along your way. Drop bags on your way back home, or if you leave early and you do it on the way too. There's ways that you can actually multitask so that you don't just go all the way out, maybe an hour and a half, and all the way back for one appointment. And I would recommend using those things. You can build these routes. When you build the routes, you can actually download them to your phone. You can plug your phone into your car, and it'll tell you exactly where to go and what to do next. The other thing, which I'll show you here in a second, are your renewal task lists. I understand that a lot of you have a ton of service work. I get that. So helping to manage and balance your prospecting with your service work, we actually have out there for each and every one of you, which I'll show you, a renewal list, like kind of a task list that shows you what renewals are coming up. So if you want to kind of filter that out for the next 3 months, plan your day accordingly and say, okay, I know I have these coming up, and this week looks like it's going to be really hectic. So this week and this week, I'm going to have to do more prospecting because I've got my service over here. It just helps you to stay more organized. So I want you to stay tuned, because the next time we meet, we will start to talk about things like Zenbit and GeoPoint in more detail. So those of you that might not be using those to the most of their, to the capacity that they can be used, I would recommend joining us for those, because I can show you how easy those tools are to use and how they can kind of just make you a little more efficient. As always, the marketing team's always available to assist you and provide you some additional training. I know that after we send out these agent diagnostics, we probably will be, well, not probably, we will be reaching out to a few of you that we feel we could help. And so, you know, we want to be able to offer you some of the tools that we have. So both Rowan and I will be reaching out to you. Darren and Janelle might be reaching out to you. But as always, you can always give us a call. We can remote into your computers, help you figure out if you can't find something. We're really here just to help you. So please use us. To go back over to just the one last thing to show you on those renewals. Again, I'm logged in as Kyle. If you go over to your tasks in Tech Canary, you can, if it's not already available, you can do this little drop down here. And this here says Kyle Butler renewals. Each and every one of you have one. You click on that and it will show you, you can sort it by the month. It can show you what renewals you have coming up. You can also always go over to your filter. And if you want to filter out the months, you can add a month filter on here and you can say, well, I just want to look at my January renewals or my February renewals, so that I can kind of start planning my month out. And that is all I have today. I'm hoping you guys found this beneficial, but does anybody have any questions?
When are you sending out the diagnostics?
I will be sending them out following this meeting.
Hey, Jennifer, it's Kyle. Can I say a few things?
Sure.
For those of you who weren't or who aren't putting stuff in the system on a regular basis, or you're writing it down on notes on your desk and trying to put it in at the end of the week, there's definitely some efficiencies in doing it as you go, and also using the mobile app to record drop bags and meetings and things like that. I mean, the reality is I was doing some of the things, maybe not to the level that I needed to be, but by putting things in and not having things to wait on me later during the week or later during the day, it made me more efficient and gave me more time to pick up the phone more or drop more bags. And it just made me more efficient overall. And so, you know, Jennifer's point, some of you may be doing it, I was doing it, but it gave me more time to do more of it. And that made me better in the long run. So
Kyle, are you doing it on your phone?
I am in the field when I'm out or I drop by. I use the phone app to record all my drop bags and to set up. Before I leave the parking lot, I record the drop bag and I set up the task to follow up on the drop bag before I even leave the parking lot.
Perfect.
So then I have my prospecting calls already set for the next week to follow up, or the next 3 days or whatever.
And are you using your Zenbit at all for your emails and things?
I am not using Zenbit as I should be.
Okay. So from a service perspective, and I think Camille and Kate actually use this quite a bit. Once I kind of showed them Zenbit, I think it was a little bit life-changing for them as well, because now they just file it right there. They don't have to go in and out of Tech Canary. And especially for service, because I'm sure you're, you know, communicating a lot via email, and you can just literally go over there, log it, be done, and now they have a record of what they discussed, but they also have an activity logged. So,
Right.
so yeah, so those of you that aren't using that, again, like I said, that's actually going to be my next meeting, is going into Zenbit and showing you more how it works and how you can use it to even schedule follow-up appointments for yourself. So, you know, feel free to join that one as well.
I think you're doing it right away, Kyle, is life-changing. If you wait the end of the week, it's you forget, it's like a pile of stuff on your desk. And you're not keeping yourself current with things. And I see the same thing like on leads. I'm going to pick on Bruce in a good way. On leads, Bruce, he's calling by the time he's hitting a reply, which is almost instantaneously, he's calling the prospect. Other people, I get replies back next day, you know, whatever it is. So I think immediacy and managing your stuff that way, you're going to be so much better in terms of being accomplishing goals your task, and it's going to result in more sales.
Yeah, I think we all have great intentions and we're all doing the work. We're just doing it in different ways maybe, but you say, well, I'll write this down and I'll put it in when I have time on Friday when it's slower. And the reality is something comes up on Friday and it takes all of half of your day and you didn't get to it, and then it doesn't get recorded. And it's not that you didn't do it. It's just that you're not recording the information, and you should have been doing it all along. And if you didn't, then you don't have the task set up to follow up either. So then that just one more step.
Yep, best practice.
That's what
Agreed.
That's what I've found.
Yep.
I agree. It
Change.
just makes you faster.
Yep. Change and do it that way.
And that's the whole point is, even with these calls, like I've been trying to keep them to about 30 minutes because I know you guys are busy. I recognize that your time is, precious to you. So I want to make sure that we're conscious of that. But if we can provide you with these tools to, take you from good to great, but also make you more efficient, that's ultimately our goal. Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate your time. And like I said, you'll be getting your agent diagnostics from me today, your individual printout. And then I will also be reaching out to a couple of you just to kind of work with you. It's all going to start from the top. It's like, if you don't have your top 250, we're going to kind of talk with you, try to get you where you need to be, and so on. So you'll probably be hearing from us a little bit if that's the case. So.
Jennifer, I would like to say, I would just tell you, for me, this was really information overload. I mean, it really was. It was like my head started exploding. So, which doesn't take much anyway. But if there's a possibility, and I'm sure you'll do this, we'll follow up this stuff and kind of do some step-by-step stuff that I can get my hands on and everything. That would be extremely helpful, because this was like, blew my mind. So
yeah, and you can always feel free to call me too. Like, I do have some agents that I probably speak to on a regular basis that just, they want to walk through things with me, and that's okay. Like, that's what, I'm here for. I can have Rowan help me with some of that as well. So absolutely. And we'll be sending the recording out for all of these as well, so that you can always take a look at it later. And if there's more information I can provide you, I certainly will.
excellent. Thanks.
Long story
Hey, Bruce,
Yeah,
question for you. Was there one particular part that you found more confusing than others?
It's just it's just the working of it. I'm doing everything, as you guys probably know. I'm doing all of this stuff. It's just the dynamics of getting it logged in and all that stuff. For me, as you all know, I'm a minimalist. If I don't have to put stuff in there, I'm not going to. But I understand I'm not rejecting it. Let's just put it that way. It's just that full on, man. I just being the workings. It's just the workings. That's all it is.
Yeah, and because I agree with Bruce's point of view there. I mean, I was just thinking, all these calls you get throughout the week, all the service stuff, PCRs, all this stuff, I've never taken the time to input that every single interaction I have with people. And to Bruce's point, that seems like a lot of work. And so it will take a little bit of time to adjust to doing it that way.
Can I just say something?
Does that make sense?
Being a service person and coming in behind someone else, the work that you guys do, if I don't see it in the system that you did it, sometimes if I'm talking to the client, they'll ask me a question and I won't know where you left off. So that kind of information is helpful to someone who's doing service behind a client that you're working on. I look through the system to see what you've said, where you left off, what you've done. And if it's not in the system, I'm going to assume it's not done.
Yeah, it's
That's a
confusing.
really good point,
And we're working with integration, Camille, with the customer service staff. So you really want to see, in your case, you want to see what the producer's done or what Robert Barwick did in the past, and also what's the customer service staff done. And we need to get all that in there. If you're just keeping your head, you don't even remember. I don't remember my conversations. And I have a pretty good memory, but I can't remember everything. And so you got kind of do as you go. You have to be brief but complete. And the other thing that happens, if we get sued or threat of a lawsuit, or you get a severe complaint, and there's no documentation, or the underwriter looks at, what in the heck did you guys do? And I got no documentation. It really is not a good time. We're not having a happy birthday. So
just a clarifying question then, if I do submit a PCR and the service team does something, do they document it or do I still have to document it?
no, they do the documentation of what they do. You do the documentation of what you do.
Right, and we actually have an activity now called servicing PCR submitted. So there is so if you did something even via email, that's where you can use your Zimbit, just file it real quick, put it under PCR submit it, and you're done.
But if I request the service team to do something, they will add it into Tech Canary as
Right,
an event.
right, because all of their activities do flow over they sync over into Tech Canary on the account.
They do
So-
it in Epic, but it syncs into Tech Canary.
Exactly, so you can see all their activities. And just so you know, if you ever see those activities that have brackets around them, that's all Epic activities.
Hey, Jennifer,
Yes,
I got one quick question.
sure.
When we're recording information into Tech Canary, such as like log a call, for instance, we have those different categories as you mentioned. Is it a requirement or is it optional that we need to put down like some type of information, concerning that particular topic?
I'm
So
gonna, I think it's beneficial to you if you do put comments in, and if you do put some sort of, even if it's just in the subject of what it was about, and maybe it's not super detailed, but just to note it, it's only going to help you in the long run because or say somebody that might be servicing after you. So I personally think that would be highly recommended, is to put some sort of note in there to say what you did. It doesn't have to be a long detailed paragraph or anything like that, unless it's something you really need to go back to. But I would put an idea in your subject line of what you were discussing and what it was about, so that it's not just a log a call. Because if you just do a log a call, you're not going to know what you talked about or what you did. And then too, just reminding everybody to remember to pick the activity type that it matches to. Was it a prospecting call or a service call? Was it a prospecting email or a servicing email? And that way we can kind of decipher between the two.
Hey, Ken, I think I would frame the question like this. Have you ever had a sales opportunity where you had to call 3 times to get a piece of follow-up information?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So in that situation, I find it's helpful to know what are those 2 or 3 pieces of information that you need and have it right in front of you and not have to dig out and get it. And if you have an open task in your opportunity or in your account that is staring at you in the face saying, I need this, this, and this, when the person calls you unexpectedly, it's there for you. Or if you're on the phone and you get these 2 pieces, but you don't resolve the third, knowing that you only partially got through the project and there's still a part that you have to resolve, that's helpful too. It's really, in my experience, it's all about having the information in front of you so you don't have to recreate it every time you pick up the file. I have found that in my day, what can be one of the most time-consuming parts of the day is picking up an opportunity or picking up a prospect and then trying to figure out, where did I leave off on this? And so it can end up taking 5 minutes to make a cold call because I want to figure out, is this the right contact person? What's the last thing I said to them? When did they renew? Where am I at in this process? And the more you can do to minimize that research time by having good notes on your account, the more you're going to be able to get done.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Daryl. things like I put ACV roof, whether it's an ACV roof on the account screen for my servicing contacts and the age of the roofs, or if they have a workers' comp policy that I can upsell with, or if it's a prospect, I'll definitely make sure I have the description of what they do, how much annual revenue they have. I'll also have referring customers who they know, potentially who I can refer to when I talk to them. These are all things that when I'm cold calling, and now that I have it set up, it's a pain to set up. But the more I dive into TechCanary and use it, it's a more advantage now that it's a system in place, and I can just reel off cold calls a lot easier.
Well, and an example.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I feel like we got off the rails a little bit. Like maybe this is better for sales than servicing. I've been thinking about my 250 and I want to do it geographically rather than size. What do you guys think works better though? Like I want to have my 250 close to me.
I'd rather go size.
You would?
Yeah, because it's about, because I think, well, what do you mean by size? Are you talking about counts under 5,000?
So I'd rather have my 250 close to me than like a C4 or C5. I mean, yeah, like premium, obviously.
John, what do you mean by close to you?
Geographically.
Okay, so you would raise up on your list something that's with a 30-minute radius of your.
Or hour and a half is fine. I was just wondering what you guys think about that. John, for me, that's one of the number one reasons that I expand the classes of business that I work on, is so that I can minimize my time in the car.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. I want the best of both worlds. I want accounts that are over my target average size premium, and I want them within an hour so that I don't have to drive for forever to get there.
And I want to say some of my top 250 are accounts that I think will be spheres of influence. So you may have, you know, an important account that's really only a C2, but you know that they have connections, or you already have connections to different areas you're trying to get in.
I would agree with that too. I think that when you look at even like associations, and I know this actually from, I don't think Kurt is on the call, but I know, and just with working with Kurt, that's probably how he does his a lot, because he will, when he writes something that's in an association, I always seem to get like an email like, hey, it's part of this association. And then we kind of target through because he already has the relationship built. So that, and then too, you know, the Pardot that I had kind of shared with you guys, those are people that maybe aren't on your radar screen geographically or relationship wise, but they're showing engagement. So I would look at those as well and say, well, clearly they like what I'm saying, so I might have a better opportunity to get in the door here. And it might be a warmer call because they're going to recognize you since they've gotten marketing materials. I think there's a whole lot of factors that you can consider. Okay. All right. Any other questions, thoughts? All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.